Okay, what we're going to do is tie some Allen's Catfish cheese rigs. In my video that I posted the other day, we poured the tubes made out of plastisol, and I forgot to mention that when you mold your tubes and you're using plastisol, it's about, you gotta wear protective gloves and clothes. The plastisol cooks at about 300-350 degrees. So what we're going to do here is we're going to cut the tubes to a length that we use, and we decided to, we ended up at this length here we're using. But anyway, I've got a mark here on the tying machine, and that's how we do that. There's 5 components to the rigs. There's the red tube, and I'll move these out of the way. The red tube that holds the cheese, the micro tubing that keeps the hook and the rig positioned inside the red tube. The color of the tube is tomato, and then you have the split shot. We use a split shot and that keeps the rig positioned inside the cheese tube. They're a removable split shot, and they got little ears on them, and they lock into the tube and they hold the thing together. It works pretty good. It took us, this is the 3rd season that we've used them, and we have pre-cut leaders. We cut them ourselves. The line is red, and I'll just leave it at that. But I've used several different kinds of monofilament lines, and this red line can take quite a bit of abuse in the river that we fish. Now, we never took these rigs to ponds and reservoirs, because they work with the current, and the current in our river we fish is about 2 to 3 miles an hour, and it disperses the odor of the stinky cheese bait in the water, and it works real well. You don't have to put very much cheese in one of these tubes. We use an injector, and we fill the injector with the stinky cheese, and then we inject it into the tubes. And the advantage of that is that I've tried different brands of cheese rigs, baskets, sponge, and it seems like you get cheese all over you, all over whoever's fishing with you, and all over the boat. And I just don't like getting stinky cheese on me or on my boat. So you don't have to use as much, and you don't waste as much, and you don't paint everything with the cheese. That's the advantages I find in it. But anyway, the micro tube, and then we use a small hook. This is a number 10, and I know I can't focus in on it, but it's a number 10 treble hook. And the reason why people see these rigs and they say that ain't gonna catch nothing, well, they do. We've caught a lot of fish from 2 inches to 30 pounds on these hooks. We were fishing several years ago, and we was using night crawlers, and the channel cats was just stripping the bait. We was doing a lot of rebaiting, doing a lot of baiting, but we wasn't catching very many fish. So I got to looking at the channel catfish, and 1.5 to 3 pound cat, they may have a mouth an inch wide, maybe a little wider, but their mouth is not very big, and we were just using too big of hooks. And the thing about this small hook on these rigs, they're practically weedless. They don't snag very bad, and so you don't get snagged a lot. You get snagged more on the sinker than you do on the rig. So those are the advantages, and we've been working on this for probably 4 years, and they work real well. So what I'm going to do, we get the micro tubing in a coil, and it's I've got a mark on here, and we cut the micro tubing to a proper length, and that's pretty easily done. It's got a slight bow in it when it's on that coil, so I just kind of straighten them a little bit. Doesn't really make any difference. So what we're going to do, we're going to tie some of these and show you how we do that. This red line is 20 pounds, and I sort of designed this little rig here. It's not much to look at, but it really works good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got a antique pair of duckbill pliers that I sanded down to a real fine needle point. So I go through the eye of that wrap, I grab the tail, come through the eye, and then back through the loop of the tail, and now when I pull this tight, you may hear a snap, but that there is got the hook and the leader locked together. You don't have to worry about that hook coming off of there. So anyway, I'm kind of out of practice, but I'll tie a couple of these here and show you how we do this. You get in a rhythm, and you can tie several of them. Sometimes I snip off the excess of that tail there. Get me another leader here. The leaders are about 16 inches long, and you got to give yourself some room to tie them, especially with my fingers are all thumbs. So I got 3 of them tied here, and I'll go ahead and show you the rest of it. There, she snapped. So anyway, there's 3 of them. Well, I guess one's on the floor now. Okay, now we put on the micro tube, and see which way I'm going here. A little practice, you can get pretty good at this. Go ahead and put these 3 micro tubes on here. After, what I want to do is make a video. The next video I want to make is we want to take these to the river, and I want to take you guys with us and show you how we tie them to the rods and how we rig that. So anyway, I've got those on there. Then what we do is put the split shot on there. I can't remember the size of these split shot, but the reason we went to that is it keeps the rig together, locked together here, and also it prevents the rig from being pulled through the head of the red tube, and it works pretty good. Like I said, they're removable split shot, and the ears on the split shot locks it into the tube and it stays together. You can cast them. And okay, now what I've got here is a needle, and this is the tying machine. So I'm going to get 3 tubes out here, and what we do is put a little dab of worm oil on the end of them, and that makes it slide together. It doesn't want to slide together, but you put this worm oil on the end of the tube, the opened end, and they slip right together and they stay together. Now the tubes will last maybe a couple hours. It's just according how hard the channels are hitting, and they chew them up. And we take a handful of them to the river, and we catch on the average anywhere from 30 to 50 head, fish ranging from 2 inches to 10 pound, 20 pound. We have caught 30 pounders on here on these rigs. Now the blue cats, they hit them too. They'll hit the cheese, and that's the bigger fish that we catch. Now the flatheads, they don't, occasionally you'll get a flathead, maybe a 2 pound, 3 pound flathead, but I guess they like cut bait or fresh bait. They don't really go for the cheese that well. So anyway, there's 3 of them tied. Now I'm going to pull on the leader, and you see it always goes back to the shape. It stays together, and but there is the split shot in the head of the tube. The micro tubing is inside there, and there's the hook. Now we use an injector, as I said, to inject the cheese into this tube, and most of the time we use a ounce no roll sinker. And the way I tie them on the rods, I'll show you when we go to the river, if it ever warms up. This has been one humdinger of a cold winter. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to pull the leader down and make a loop, and then I'm going to tie a knot here. I forget what you call this knot, but anyway, I put an eye there, and then I've got some tape on this handle, and I've got a good pair of pliers here that I break that excess off of there, and there is the tube, and it's finished. But these things, we really catch a lot of fish. We give them a lot, several of them, to other people, neighbors, and they like them. And anyway, if you give them a try and learn how to use them, you can catch a lot of fish. We just basically sport fish for the catfish. We put most of them back. Occasionally we'll take a half a dozen of them home, and we'll fry them up. But anyway, this is the Allen's Catfish cheese rig, and they really work.